Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Yesterday, Blizzard finally announced the first details about the upcoming standard rotation for Hearthstone and the upcoming standard year, the Year of the Raven, that's going to follow the current Year of the Mammoth. First, the obvious part that we already knew, but not everyone necessarily remembers. There will be a standard rotation when the next expansion comes, in a month or two. And with the standard rotation, 3 sets are going to be rotated out of the standard format. So Whispers of the Old Gods, One Night in Karazhan and Ministries of Gadgetzan are all leaving. They will be wild only, so you can no longer play with cards from those sets. There will of course be the new expansion that will fill in some of the gaps, but in addition to these sets rotating out, some of the cards will also rotate out into Hall of Fame. In this particular instance, 3 cards will be leaving the standard format: Ice Block, Coldlight Oracle and Molten Giant. In this video I'm going to take a look at each of these cards and why they are leaving and what that means for the standard format. First, there's Ice Block. This Mage secret is a powerful card and has been the centerpiece of standard decks for years. It's time to make more room for new Mage decks in standard. What does this mean in practice? Ice Block has been used universally in just about all archetypes of Mage, but not in all Mage decks. It has been most crucial in various combo decks such as Freeze Mage and later on Exodia Mage, where it is a key piece in enabling them to survive long enough to assemble those combo pieces and then go for their inevitability and win the game. It has also played a role in Secret Mage. In Secret Mage you can use Ice Block, so then you don't have to really worry about trading, worry about the board, worry about your health total. You can race much more comfortably and try to kill the opponent before they can kill you, because they have to kill you twice. And also in more grindier Control Mage decks, Ice Block has served in a bit of a different role. It has mostly served as a combo denier. So when there are combo decks that want to kill you, okay, well, Ice Block prevents you from dying, and then you can roll on and stabilize from the next turn. These different roles that Ice Block has played in the various decks already indicate kind of the results of Ice Block rotating out. Decks like Freeze Mage, Exodia Mage are going to suffer a lot, because Ice Block has been very important for them. In the case of Exodia Mage and its random card generation, you know, maybe been able to play like 5 Ice Blocks in a game, stalled for a very long time, and that will no longer be possible. Secret Mage, on the other hand, many versions have already not run Ice Block anyway, and you just have to pay a bit more attention to the board. You can't sit behind an Ice Block, take lethal damage and still win the game. But overall it affects Secret Mage only in a small way. Control Mage is probably the most interesting thing. Actually, I have played the Big Spell Mage or Control Mage both on my Climb to Legend and within Legend quite successfully without Ice Block, running a list that includes Bright-Eyed Scouts. It's definitely doable. Frostlich Chain, Arcane Artificer combined to give you health, give you armor. You don't absolutely need Ice Block in a Control Mage. What Ice Block has done in Control Mage is to prevent them from dying to combos. So if combo decks are very strong and very prevalent in the meta, then Control Mage will really miss that Ice Block. But if there are not that many combo decks, then Control Mage could still be just fine. The second card that is leaving the Hall of Fame is Coldlight Oracle. This was really a surprise to me. I didn't see Coldlight Oracle be that kind of a problem, but Blizzard's reasoning is telling. Its downside can destroy opponents' cards and prevent opponents from playing the deck they built, which in turn limits some designs related to Battlecry and effects that return a minion to hand. This is clearly referring to mill decks. We have Kingsbane Rogue in the current meta, we have Mill Warrior, Fatigue Warrior, we've even seen some Crumble Mill Shamans using Crumble to return Coldlight Oracles back to hand, using Murmuring Elemental to double the battle cry effect. So there are some mill decks around, but the mill decks are generally not very strong. They're especially strong against control and combo decks, but very weak to aggro decks. So obviously based on that you can think that okay, this is going to be a buff to control and combo decks, but even more than that, it's going to be a buff to Warlock. With the remaining card pool, Warlock will be the only class that has access to active mill, with Gnome Ferrado and with Rin. And with Coldlight Oracle being rotated to Hall of Fame and Dirty Rat rotating out through natural means, That means that there's nothing that can stop Warlock from playing Rin. Even if you Skulking Geist their Dark Pacts, Warlock still has the option to play Rin into a fully buffed Spellstone to instantly kill it off. And once they start playing those seals and they get Azari into their hand, there's nothing you can do about it. So it will be interesting to see what new cards the next expansion will bring, because removing Coldlight Oracle seems to be a pretty big buff to Warlock in particular. And it can also be a big buff to any varieties of combo decks, so whatever new combo decks come from the new expansion, those will also have a much safer time with Coldlight Oracle out of the way. Because even though the nerf primarily targets mill decks, Coldlight Oracle has also been a deck card in just regular decks, even in control decks, as a deck card against other control and combo decks. And in the current card pool there is nothing really that can fit that role. Finally, there is the Molten Giant. And Molten Giant is not only moving to the Hall of Fame, but it's also getting unnerved. Molten Giant was nerfed from 20 mana to 25 mana back in 2016, which effectively killed Handlock as an archetype. But now Molten Giant is going back to 20, so does that mean that Handlock can come back in Wild? I have a bit of a hard time seeing that, because in Wild there's another card, the Naga Sea Witch. All your cards cost 5. And once you have Naga Sea Witch on the board, it doesn't matter if the Molten Giant originally cost 20 or 25 or 100 mana. Once you've taken 5 damage, Molten Giant is free. So the main use of Molten Giant in Wild right now is not affected by the unnerfing at all, and it's doubtable whether Handlock can be strong enough to revive itself as a deck in Wild format. As for Standard format, well, Molten Giant leaving has no practical significance. Molten Giant only saw some niche play in some Quest Mage builds, and with Ice Block gone, that kinds of Quest Mage builds are no longer viable anyway, so whether they lose Molten Giant or not simply doesn't matter. So this is the least influential card leaving Standard, but I can see how they wanted it to go to Wild, just so that they could unnerf it safely and allow that playstyle again, even if it's not strong enough in the current Wild format anymore. One more thing that you should know about the card rotation. Just like last year, you can keep your copies of these cards, and you'll also be guaranteed the full Arcane Dust value for each card, up to the maximum number that can be used in a deck. What this means in practice is, if you have 2 copies of all of these cards, you can just sit back, relax and wait for your dust to come. Crafting additional copies, regular copies, Coden copies, doesn't improve your position. You won't be able to make any extra dust doing that. However, if you don't have 2 copies of all of these cards, then you can craft them either in regular version or in golden version, and you will get the dust that you used to craft them back once the rotation hits, so you will essentially get free cards. So that's something to keep in mind. It's impossible to really speculate too much about the Hall of Fame rotation yet. It's very interesting that Coldlight is going, because that seems like a big buff to Warlock in particular, and Warlock is already very strong. And also something like Cubelock is hardly losing anything in the rotation. But of course, only once we get to see the new set, we can properly start to evaluate what the new meta is going to look like. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.